Is the European Union witnessing its final sunset? In a diplomatic move that can only be described as a geopolitical earthquake, Donald Trump has officially drawn a line in the sand. For decades, the alliance between Washington and Brussels was considered unshakable, the bedrock of Western civilization. Today, that bedrock has cracked. It is in ruins. Sources deep inside the Beltway confirm the unthinkable. The president has refused to acknowledge the latest high-level delegation led by European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen. This isn't just a cold shoulder. It is a humiliating public rejection, a declaration of diplomatic war. The terrifying question keeping European leaders awake tonight isn't just why he did it, it's what happens next. We are looking at a scenario once deemed impossible, a complete, immediate decoupling of American power from the European continent. What does Trump know that the public doesn't? Rumors swirl of a secret ultimatum delivered via back channels just hours before the public snub. Is this about unpaid NATO bills? The controversial Green Deal? Or something far darker lurking within the corridors of the Berlaymont building? Something Trump has suddenly decided to expose? The markets are already reacting. The euro trembles against the dollar. In Berlin and Paris, silence is deafening. They know the truth that mainstream media dares not say. If Washington walks away, the European house of cards collapses. This isn't about tariffs. It's about survival. It began exactly 48 hours ago. Sources close to the transition team report that von der Leyen's delegation attempted to present a renewed partnership framework to the incoming administration. The document, titled Agenda 2026, proposed maintaining current trade tariffs and continuing joint funding of the Ukraine conflict. Trump didn't just reject it. He reportedly threw it in the trash. According to a leaked memo from inside the meeting, Trump presented a counter-document, the Ledger of Debt. This isn't rhetoric. This is cold, hard accounting. The file allegedly details a $350 billion trade deficit that the U.S. absorbed from the Eurozone over the past fiscal year alone. Trump's message was brutal and direct. The era of the American piggy bank is over. The specific bone of contention? Article 24 of the proposed trade agreement, which would have exempted German automakers from a new 25% tariff. Trump explicitly targeted the German car industry. Within minutes of news that talks had failed, Frankfurt's DAX index plummeted 4.5%. Volkswagen and BMW lost billions in market cap in a single afternoon. Europe's economic engine is stalling, and Washington just cut the fuel line. The unity of Europe is dissolving before our eyes. For years, the U.S. has subsidized European defense through NATO. The numbers don't lie. While the U.S. spends nearly 3.5% of GDP on defense, major European powers like Spain and Italy barely scrape 1.5%. Trump knows this. He cited the failure of burden sharing as the primary reason for freezing all high-level contact with the European Commission. Reports from Brussels indicate panic has set in at the Berlaymont. Emergency calls between French President Emmanuel Macron and German Chancellor Olaf Scholz have been described as chaotic, tense, and, well, pretty accusatory. Macron is allegedly pushing for an immediate European army initiative, a desperate attempt to show strength. But without American logistics and intelligence, military experts agree. Europe is, honestly, a paper tiger. There's also a personal element to Trump's rejection that cannot be ignored. His team has reportedly unearthed evidence linking European Union funds to specific NGOs that actively campaigned against his election. If this interference dossier goes public, it could end Ursula von der Leyen's political career. We are talking about potential misappropriation on a scale that makes previous scandals look like petty theft. The ultimatum was clear. Europe has 30 days. Pay retroactive defense dues estimated at $80 billion. Dismantle digital service taxes targeting American tech giants immediately. And accept new tariffs on luxury goods and automobiles without retaliation. Fail to comply, and the United States threatens to invoke Section 301 of the Trade Act of 1974, effectively locking European goods out of the American market. The nuclear option. Imagine for a moment the streets of Paris and Berlin if factories start closing next month. Labor unions are already mobilizing. The Yellow Vest protests in France? Well, that was just the warm-up. Civil unrest could explode if Europe's economy crashes. And, make no mistake, without the US market, the recession will be instant and catastrophic. Von der Leyen is currently holding an emergency summit in Brussels. The mood is, honestly, funeral-like. They have no leverage, no plan B. They bet everything on a different election result, and now they are paying the price. Trump isn't negotiating, he's dictating terms of surrender. The EU faces a three-front crisis: economic collapse, a security vacuum, and a legitimacy crisis. The clock is ticking. The 30-day deadline is not a negotiation tactic, it is a countdown. We are standing on the precipice of a geopolitical shift that historians will analyze for centuries. This is the moment the post-World War II order effectively ends. Think about it. If Europe bows to Trump's demands, the EU basically admits it's not a superpower, but just a vassal state. European sovereignty dies instantly, but if they refuse, well, pride risks triggering the full wrath of the American economic machine. A trade war, combined with an energy crisis and internal political divisions, is honestly suicide. Here's the most terrifying question nobody in the mainstream media is asking. Is the EU already dead and we just haven't attended the funeral yet? Without American protection, who defends the eastern flank? And without the American consumer, who's going to buy German cars and Italian fashion? The leverage is entirely on one side of the Atlantic. Trump has called the bluff. The poker game is over. Europe is holding an empty hand. But could this be shock therapy? Is Trump forcing Europe to finally stand on its own? Or is he the executioner pulling the plug on a life support system? We want to hear from you. Do you support Trump's America First refusal to subsidize Europe? Or is this a betrayal of an ally? Can the European Union survive a full-scale trade war with the United States? Or will this trigger a wave of exits? A Dexit or FXit? Leave your predictions in the comments. Do not sit on the fence. The world is changing fast, and silence is no longer an option. Will von der Leyen resign within the month? Will the markets crash next week? Subscribe and turn on notifications, because when the 30-day deadline hits, we'll be back with the update. You cannot afford to miss what happens next.